This is a new season again. It's 1st of October. It's exciting. I think it's really, I didn't even think about 1st of October, but God put in my heart to speak from Exodus 14. And I feel it's really aligned with what God wants to do. So I'll just go into prayer right now. Father, thank you that bondage is broken today. Thank you that your Holy Spirit is guiding us. In Jesus' name, amen. So this is a long passage. I'm going to call up Sister Grace to give us a reading, scripture reading from Exodus 14, verse 1 to 31. So if you have your Bible, you can flip it. If not, then it'll be up on the screen. So I'll call up Sister Grace to come and read.
The Red Sea crossing. Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they turn and camp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal-Zephon. You shall camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are bewildered by the land. The wilderness has closed them in. Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will pursue them, and I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. Now it was told the king of Egypt that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? So he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. Also, he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt, with captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out in boldness. So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army, and overtook them camping by the sea beside Pi-hahiroth, before Baal-Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to them. Then they said to Moses, Because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Why have you so dealt with us to bring us up out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, Let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said to the people, Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. And the Lord said to Moses, Why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward, but lift up your rod, and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I indeed will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army, his chariots, and his horsemen. Then the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gained honor for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the angel of God, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went from before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness to the one, and it gave light by night, and to the other, so that the one did not come near the other all that night. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea. All Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Now it came to pass in the morning watch that the Lord looked upon the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and the cloud. And he troubled the army of the Egyptians. And he took off the chariot wheels so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Egyptians said, "Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, then the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, on their chariots, and on their horsemen." And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and when the morning appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Then the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Not so much as one of them remained. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. This is the word of the Lord.
Thank you, Sister Grace. I think a lot of us know this story. Whether you watch it on a movie, you know, the Ten Commandments, you know, with, what was his name, the actor? Who was in Ten Commandments? Charlton Heston, that's right. And, you know, there was, it talked about Ten Commandments, that movie, actually, there was one part I remember quite clearly when they were all leaving, and then there was this old man who was going, "Oh, I'm blind, and you can't see," and then people were helping him. That actually was a mistake. Because the Bible actually says no one was evil. Not one person was sick leaving Egypt. Not one. Why? They were all sustained, they were all healed. No one actually got sick when they were in the desert. No one got hungry. Right? No one shoes broke apart because God gave them shoes that never break apart. They walked for 40 years, man. How do you like that? Nike would love to have that formula. But, you know, that's God's way of providing for them. So, today, it's a long passage, but I feel that it is really important for us. As I was reading this passage, I saw a lot of things that God is doing even today in our lives. So I just want to share that with you today. Now, you know, a lot of times we're faced with a lot of directions in life, right? And I like to take the analogy of a car. Like if you drive a car, there are 4 different ways you can go. You can go forward, you can go left, you can go right, or you can go into reverse. A lot of people do not like to go into reverse. Okay? That's why you see a lot of people have a lot of hard time trying to park their car. I was watching this car. You know, I was waiting for this car to park yesterday, and they had a nice, British Range Rover. Right? I don't even know the brand. Anyways, probably came with a lot of, gadgets to park, but he was having a tough time. So I figured that he would love to drive forward, just like all of us, right? I mean, if I put you on the Ferrari and then I say, okay, go to it, like, just like this whole entire highway is yours, no policeman is going to give you any ticket, just go, and you would really go, right? Because it's going forward. Similarly, in the windshield, like the windshield, it's huge, right? But when you look at the rear view mirror, it's so tiny. No one really wants to look at the back. They just want to go forward, right? So that's what I observed. And I said, okay, so how does that relate to our lives, right? See, sometimes when you see a bumper sticker, like when you're driving, I don't want to talk about driving a lot today, but when you're driving and you see a bumper sticker at the back of a car, it says, Jesus is my co-pilot. That's actually also wrong. Because he is the pilot, So when we keep thinking that Jesus is the co-pilot, like we are the one, in charge, we have a tough time. Right? We have a tough time in life when challenges and circumstances come up. So I was just talking about cars, I was just observing cars, and even when, we're good drivers, there's always variables in life, like you think of it. I'm just using cars as an example, but if at work or if you're at home and you think you're good at what you're doing, there are variables that will inevitably come your way that's gonna just throw you off, right? So today I just want to talk about moving forward. Is that okay? Like moving forward, right? So why is this topic so important? Well, here's the revelation. Here's the revelation. Are you ready? God never makes mistakes. God never makes mistakes. Okay? Just write that somewhere. If you have to remind yourself on your cell phone or something like that, you need to write it somewhere. Because a lot of times in life, you think that God has made a mistake. Like, I chose you, and my life is a mess. Why is my life a mess? Before I found you, I was having a good time, right? Things were going well. Ever since I found you, I can't even share my faith with a lot of people. Why is that, God? Why am I so afraid? Why am I so ashamed to tell people about you? Right? So, here's the thing. God never makes mistakes. We may have thought that he has made mistakes, but he doesn't make mistakes. Now, the other thing that God does all the time is he gives us instructions all the time. He gives us instructions all the time. It is just whether we're listening to his instruction or carrying it out. God is continuously letting us know his plan. But we sometimes blot it out. And one of the revelations that I got, which is actually not part of today's sermon, was that I was trying to share it to my wife when she came back from Vegas yesterday from work. And I was like so excited. She was really tired. I said, you have to listen to this. This is a great revelation. She goes, what? I said, well, Jesus came to set us free. She goes, I know that already. No, I said, you need to listen to this. Jesus came to set us free. He came to set us free. But when you receive that freedom, when you understand that freedom, then two things happen. Okay? In this kingdom, there's freedom. Because in this kingdom, that's how it operates, with freedom. But in the flesh kingdom or in the enemy's kingdom, it's bondage. It's always about bondage. Now, the two things in God's kingdom that Jesus came to show us is love and honor. Okay? And I'll get more into that next week because I'm just giving you a preview of what God showed me. And I just want to touch base on just these two items. He said, love and honor, in order for it to operate, it has to operate in freedom. In an environment of freedom. Without freedom, in bondage, love and honor cannot operate. I'm going to get into that next week. But so moving forward, God doesn't make mistakes, right? And he's always telling us. He's giving us instructions all the time. All the time he's telling us. Okay? Now, if we operate under bondage, if we don't feel free, you may have received Christ, but you may not feel free. You will always feel a sense of fear, right? Like if you don't feel free, you will feel a sense of fear. Whatever you do, whatever you're thinking about, it will come from a place of fear. It's not coming from a place where you are free. You know, if you truly know that you've been set free by Jesus, what did the Bible say? Perfect. Cast out all So when you don't know that you've been set free, you will always have fear in the back of your mind. Doesn't matter what you do. Even you're coming to church, you're fearful that somebody's going to pick your car somewhere else. I think. You're with God right now. God has got you, right? The reason why we follow Him is because He wants to move forward. And we just continually will move forward with Him when we follow Him and trust Him. So here's the thing. Let's get into the scripture. So the Lord spoke to Moses, verse 1 to 9, saying, speak to the children of Israel. And they turned and camped before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal-zephon. You shall camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh will say that the children of Israel, they are bewildered by the land, and the wilderness has closed them in. Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will pursue them, and I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army. And the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. Verse 5. Now it was told the king of Egypt that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this? That we have let Israel go from serving us. And you pay attention to that. Why did we let them go, basically? So he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And also he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt with captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with bows. Verse 9. So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of the Pharaoh, his horsemen, his army, overtook them, camping by the sea beside Pi-hahiroth, before Baal-zephon. You know, when I was reading this, I'm really like, okay, why did God call these guys the Israelites? They're always referred to the children of Israel. Have you ever noticed that? The whole time, they're called children of Israel. They were not called from this tribe or this tribe or this tribe or this tribe or children of who or who. No, the children of Israel. Now what does Israel mean? No, but what does Israel mean? Right? Yeah, there's so many different. But here's the thing. When I was researching it, Israel actually is who prevails with God. Who prevails with God. Okay? Basically, triumphant with God. That means victorious with God. So if you take some of this and you substitute it for the word Israel, you will find it means basically the children of Israel can translate to mean children of God that wins for them. Children of God that wins for them. God is the one that wins for them. Isn't that beautiful? You become children of God. God does the fighting for you. Right? Amazing. Amazing. And the thing is, we are also called children of God. So how are these verses relevant to us? Very relevant. God is using the word children of Israel, children of God, so that today when we read it, we understand that this is also for us. Because we are children of God. And I was wondering also, like, why is it that God doesn't refer to them as youth of God or man of God or woman of God, right? They're never grown. They're just referred to as infants, like children of God, you know? You see why? Because as children, we depend on Him, right? When we see ourselves as children, we're eager to learn. When we see ourselves as children, we're willing to trust. And when we see ourselves as children, we're starting afresh. We're starting afresh. Like, if you live till like 50-something like me, and all of a sudden somebody comes up to you and you receive Christ for the first time and say, you are now a child of God. It's like, man, everything has been reset. So all those things that you have experienced in the last 50 some odd years that have hurt you, that have really put you down, and bad things that people have said to you, were actually all bondage. Bondage. Right? That the enemy wants to put on you. Just like the Pharaoh. He says, all of a sudden the Israelites, the children of Israel laughed after the 10 plagues. He's like, what have we done? We got to get them back. We have no more slaves. No more slaves. Why? Why? Because he doesn't know how to operate in freedom. He doesn't know what freedom means. He is actually under bondage by his own belief. His belief is always about bondage. Why? Because if you really need somebody to always do things for you, you have never accepted the word accountability. You've never done that. Somebody else always has to be blamed. You understand? If somebody else is always doing something for you, you will always get a chance to blame that person. You will never do things on your own and say, I did it on my own. Rightly or wrongly, I did it. So the Pharaoh himself doesn't understand freedom. All his life, he only understood slavery. So that's why he's able to say, wow, these guys took off. I need to go get them, right? I need to go get them. That is why the Bible talks of how we are new creation. When we receive Jesus, we are new creation. Why are we new creation? Because we are born again. You're born again. Born from what? Remember, what's his name? Nicodemus? He asked Jesus, he said, hey, what do you mean? I can't go back to my mom's womb. What are you talking about? Being born again? Like, what is that? Born again. Born again from what? From what? From transition from bondage to freedom. When you know who you are as children of God, you are free. Right? You are totally free. You're no longer under bondage. That's why God continually, the moment they left, they were referred to as children of Israel. Children of Israel. So God told Moses in this passage to turn and camp. My goodness, you are just running, right? You are like the children of Israel. You're like, man, we're far away now. We're quite far away from the Pharaoh. 400 years of bondage. We've been slaves. My father was a slave. Grandfather was a slave. I'm finally running. And you got this great leader named Moses. He's leading us. And then all of a sudden Moses comes around and goes, hey guys, let's stop and turn around. What? Right? What are you doing? Why are we turning? Yeah, we're setting up camp here at Pi-hahiroth. I can't even pronounce it. We're setting up camp here. Why? It's like, I was thinking about this passage, I'm thinking, it's like you going on a hike and all of a sudden you see this mama bear coming at you because you didn't know there's a mama bear. And this bear growling, coming at you, or running at 100 miles an hour away from the bear. And all of a sudden God tells you, really stop, turn around. What? The bear is right behind me. Why am I turning around? Why am I turning around? And in life, it's the same. It's the same. I'm thinking in life, it's like if you're seemingly moving forward, you got finances, you're doing great, you bought a new house, you got a new wife or new husband, and then you got, I don't know, you have everything. You got a great career going, and all of a sudden, you're faced with a huge, insurmountable bill. I don't know where it came from, like maybe you overspent during Christmas or whatever, on a cruise or something. And your husband threatens to divorce, and your boss tells you you're fired on Monday. That's very similar to when you're running away from the bear, and then God's telling you, stop, turn around. Turn around. Everything came to a halt, basically. And then God tells them to camp right next to the ocean.